Commander Sarah Chen smoothed her diplomatic uniform as quantum particles danced through the Galactic Council chamber, a telltale sign of an Imperial arrival. Her neural implants registered the sudden spike in energy signatures. This was no ordinary entrance. The Star Emperor himself was coming, and her heart raced at the implications. The space before the high seat fractured like shattered crystal, reality itself peeling back to reveal a figure that defied human comprehension. The Emperor emerged, his form wrapped in robes that seemed woven from captured starlight and cosmic radiation. Each movement left trailing echoes in multiple dimensions, a display of power that made even the ancient species in attendance shift uncomfortably. Sarah's enhanced eyes tracked the crystalline drones that materialized around him, their faceted surfaces projecting cascading holograms of Imperial law in every known language. Her neural translator worked overtime, processing the complex legal terminology that filled the chamber like a glowing storm. The Empire has observed Earth's recent achievements with great interest. The Emperor's voice resonated simultaneously through air and mind. Their quantum drive experiments show unexpected promise. He paused, all four of his eyes scanning the assembled representatives. However, their social structures remain dangerously unstable. Their tendency toward conflict makes them a potential threat to galactic harmony. Sarah's fingers tightened on the railing as the Emperor's proclamation continued. Earth was to be classified as a primitive protectorate, a designation that would cripple humanity's expansion into space. They would be forced to surrender their quantum drive research, restricted to their solar system like children confined to a playpen. The chamber filled with murmurs of approval from the older races, the Zenthari representatives, their crystalline bodies chiming in harmony, nodded their ancient approval. The Nexal swarm clusters pulsed in colors of agreement. Even the usually rebellious Vexthor seemed satisfied with humanity's containment. But something caught Sarah's attention in the swirling holograms of Imperial law. Her diplomatic neural implants, designed to catch subtle nuances in alien communication, highlighted an irregularity in the ancient text. The Empire's laws, supposedly immutable for 10,000 years, contained a contradiction that no one had noticed or dared to mention. She found herself moving before conscious thought took over, her boots silent on the quantum-stabilized floor as she approached the center of the chamber. The Emperor's guards, beings of pure energy contained in ceremonial armor, tensed at her approach. Their weapons, capable of erasing entire star systems, hummed to life. "Commander Chen," the Emperor's voice carried a note of amusement, "does Earth's representative wish to express gratitude for our generous protection?" Sarah's heart pounded, but years of diplomatic training kept her voice steady. "No, your celestial majesty." She raised her eyes to meet his gaze, all four of them. "I wish to direct your attention to Imperial Statute 359 Delta concerning the rights of emerging civilizations." The chamber fell silent. Sarah activated her neural interface, projecting the relevant text into the air before her. The statute clearly states that any civilization achieving quantum manipulation capabilities automatically qualifies for full membership consideration. She highlighted another section. "Yet the primitives clause you're invoking was written specifically for pre-quantum societies." The Emperor's outer eyes narrowed while his inner eyes widened, a sign of intense interest in Imperial body language. "You dare question Imperial law. I dare to uphold it," Sarah replied, her voice carrying through the suddenly silent chamber. "And by these same laws, I invoke humanity's right to challenge this classification." Gasps echoed through the chamber as the ancient words of challenge left her lips. The Emperor's robes rippled with barely contained energy, and for a moment, Sarah thought she'd miscalculated. Then his expression shifted into something far more dangerous than anger: curiosity. "A human," he mused, his voice resonating through multiple dimensions, invoking the right of challenge. His laugh shook the chamber's quantum-stabilized walls. "Do you understand what you're doing, little one? The trials have broken species far older than yours." Sarah stood her ground, feeling the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Everything humanity had worked for, Their dreams of reaching the stars now rested on her next words. I understand perfectly, Your Majesty. I also understand that by your own laws, you cannot deny us this right. The Emperor's 4 eyes focused on her with an intensity that made reality itself seem to bend. Very well, Commander Chen of Earth. His voice carried both amusement and deadly warning. Let it be recorded that humanity has invoked the right of challenge. The trials will begin immediately. His final words echoed ominously. I do hope your species is prepared for the consequences of your courage. As the chamber erupted into chaos, Sarah maintained her diplomatic composure, but inside, her mind raced. She had just committed humanity to a series of trials that no species had survived in 10,000 years, but she had also given them their only chance at freedom among the stars. The sacred circle blazed to life beneath Sarah's feet, ancient symbols burning with stellar fire as she spoke the words of challenge in High Imperial. The forbidden language rolled off her tongue with perfect pronunciation, each syllable resonating with power that sent ripples through the quantum field. Around her, the assembled alien representatives recoiled in shock. No primitive species should even comprehend these sounds, let alone speak them. You speak the ancient tongue, the Emperor said, rising from his crystalline throne. His form shifted like a constellation given life, each movement leaving trails of light in the air. The chamber's temperature dropped as his attention focused fully on Sarah. Who dared teach you our words of power? We taught ourselves, Sarah replied, maintaining the precise tonal shifts required by High Imperial. Humanity has a particular talent for understanding patterns, including your supposedly unbreakable language encryption. Your own databanks provided the key. We simply had to look at it differently. The Emperor's guards materialized fully now, their energy weapons humming with enough power to vaporize entire cities. Their forms, barely contained by ancient armor, crackled with deadly intent. But Sarah stood her ground, knowing that the next few moments would determine humanity's future among the stars. The right of challenge has not been invoked in 10,000 years, the Emperor mused, his voice resonating through multiple dimensions. He gestured to an empty section of the chamber, where ghostly echoes of long-dead species still lingered. The last civilization that tried. Well, their name no longer exists in any language. Sarah lifted her chin, her neural implants recording every moment for Earth's archives. Then perhaps it's time for change, unless the Empire fears what a primitive species might prove. She let a hint of challenge color her words, knowing she walked a dangerous line between bravery and suicide. Murmurs erupted through the chamber as other species recognized the subtle insult woven into her formal phrasing. The Emperor's outer eyes flashed with anger, but his inner eyes showed something else. Curiosity, perhaps even amusement. You play a dangerous game, Commander Chen. The trials will begin immediately. No preparation, no assistance. You will face them alone. As is my right under Imperial law, Sarah responded, her neural implants projecting the relevant statutes into the air around her. The holographic text spun in complex patterns, each article highlighting the legal foundation of her challenge. I accept these terms. The Emperor descended from his dais, each step leaving burning afterimages in reality. He towered over Sarah, his form rippling with barely contained power. The air between them crackled with quantum potential, reality itself straining under the weight of his presence. 3 trials, then. Mind, spirit, and truth. Fail anyone, and humanity's status as a protectorate will be eternal and irreversible. And if I succeed, Sarah kept her voice steady, though her heart hammered against her ribs. If you succeed, the Emperor's laugh shook the quantum glass walls, sending spider web cracks through reality itself. Humanity will have earned its place among the stars. But you won't succeed, little one. The trials break everyone, eventually. Sarah activated her diplomatic neural interface, officially recording her acceptance. The quantum encrypted data would be transmitted instantly to Earth, ensuring that whatever happened next would be preserved. Then let's begin. unless your majesty needs time to prepare the first trial. The emperor's response was immediate and devastating. Reality twisted around Sarah as the chamber dissolved into quantum foam. Her neural implants screamed warnings as space-time itself bent and warped around her. The last thing she heard was his voice, echoing through dimensions. "The trial of mind begins now, Commander. Let us see what humanity's paradigms are truly worth." As the world reformed around her, Sarah found herself in the neural combat arena, its boundaries stretching into infinite digital space. Across from her, a Nexus Lord materialized. 9 brains linked in perfect computational harmony, ready to tear her consciousness apart. Sarah allowed herself one small smile as she initialized her neural defense protocols. The Empire had forgotten something crucial about humanity. They performed best when backed into a corner. As the neural battle interface synchronized with her consciousness, she prepared to show the galaxy exactly why humans should never be underestimated. "You are either very brave or very foolish." The Nexus Lord's thoughts resonated directly into her mind, each word carrying the weight of 9 synchronized intellects. Sarah's response was pure human defiance. History is written by those brave enough to be called fools. The neural arena erupted with light as the first trial began, humanity's future hanging in the balance of digital combat. The neural arena blazed with streams of pure information as Sarah faced the Nexus Lord, his 9 synchronized brains projecting perfect fractals of logic into the digital space. Each pattern was a weapon designed to trap and destroy her consciousness through sheer computational force. Most species would have already succumbed to the overwhelming assault, their minds shattered by the mathematical perfection of the attack. But Sarah had studied human history extensively, particularly the art of guerrilla warfare. In this digital battlefield, she became unpredictable, introducing chaos into the Nexus Lord's perfect systems. Her consciousness moved like smoke through his defenses, refusing to follow the logical patterns he anticipated. "Your resistance is illogical," the Nexus Lord projected, his thoughts resonating through the digital space with the force of 9 synchronized minds. "Our processing power exceeds yours by a factor of 9. Your defeat is mathematically certain." Sarah laughed, the sound translating into disruptive wave patterns across the neural interface. "That's your first mistake, assuming this is about processing power." She launched a counterattack based on humanity's unique ability to embrace contradiction, flooding the digital space with paradoxes that defied computational analysis. She projected Zen cones, quantum superposition theories, and Escher paintings simultaneously. The Nexus Lord's synchronized minds struggled to process concepts that actively defied logical analysis. His perfect fractals began to show cracks as human creativity infected his systems, introducing elements that couldn't be resolved through pure computation. "What is this?" he demanded as his patterns destabilized. "These thought structures violate fundamental computational laws. They cannot exist together." His 9 brains began to desynchronize as they encountered more and more human impossibilities. "That's humanity for you," Sarah replied, pressing her advantage. "We thrive on breaking rules you think are unbreakable." She launched a barrage of human dreams, surrealist paintings, and quantum physics theories that seemed to contradict each other yet worked in practice. Each paradox was a digital virus in the Nexus Lord's perfectly ordered mind. The Nexus Lord's attempt to analyze her attacks through pure logic only accelerated his defeat. His 9 brains began to conflict with each other as they encountered more and more examples of human thinking that defied their basic assumptions about reality. One brain would accept a premise that another rejected, creating cascading failures in their synchronized network. In a final, desperate move, he attempted to overwhelm her with raw computational power, channeling the full force of his 9-brain network into a single devastating attack. Sarah countered by introducing the concept of human intuition, decisions made without logical basis that somehow proved correct. The paradox cascaded through his neural network like a virus, corrupting his perfect calculations with the possibility of correctness without proof. The arena flashed brilliant white as the Nexus Lord's perfectly ordered minds crashed into confusion. When the light faded, Sarah stood victorious, though the neural feedback left her with a splitting headache that threatened to split her skull. Her consciousness was battered but intact, while the Nexus Lord's 9 brains struggled to resynchronize. The Emperor's voice echoed through the space. "Impressive, Commander. You've proven that human unpredictability can indeed overcome superior processing power. But the trial of spirit will not be so easily conquered by chaos. The labyrinth of truth awaits, and it cannot be defeated by simple paradoxes." As the neural arena dissolved around her, Sarah permitted herself a grim smile despite the pounding in her head. She had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't raw power or perfect logic. It was their ability to think in ways other species couldn't even comprehend. The victory had cost her dearly. Neural burns would plague her for weeks, sending shooting pains through her synapses at random intervals. But she had shown the galaxy something important. Sometimes the most powerful weapon wasn't the biggest mind, but the most flexible one. As she prepared for the next trial, Sarah knew that the Empire was watching with new eyes. Humanity had proven they couldn't be defeated through conventional means, and that made them more dangerous and more interesting than anyone had suspected. The neural arena faded to darkness, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts and the growing realization that each trial would demand more than the last. But humanity had survived its own paradoxes for millennia. Whatever the labyrinth of truth held, she would face it with the full weight of human determination and adaptability. Sarah's quarters in the Imperial Spire thrummed with quantum energy as she recovered from the neural battle. Every surface in the luxurious chamber was designed to promote healing, from the bioresonant crystals in the walls to the quantum-stabilized air itself. But she knew better than to let her guard down. Her victory had sent shockwaves through the Empire's political landscape, and she knew retaliation would come. The first sign was subtle, a microscopic fluctuation in the room's quantum field that her enhanced senses barely detected. Phase-shifting quantum blades, capable of cutting through any defense. The assassins had technology that could bypass every security measure in the Empire, but they hadn't counted on human paranoia and preparation. "Lights full spectrum," she commanded. The room blazed with radiation across all wavelengths, revealing 3 shadowy figures in phase-shift suits. Their movements were perfect, their technology superior, but Sarah had laid her trap days ago. Her neural implants had been broadcasting everything since she entered the room. "Interesting choice," she said calmly, activating her neural broadcaster's full capacity. "Attacking a challenger during the trials rather goes against Imperial law, doesn't it?" Every word was being transmitted live across the galaxy, her neural implants streaming to thousands of worlds. The assassination attempt had become her stage. The assassins hesitated, their perfect choreography disrupted as they realized too late that they'd walked into a political trap rather than a physical one. Sarah pressed her advantage, her voice carrying to every corner of the Empire. "I wonder who ordered this. Perhaps someone afraid of what humanity might prove." One assassin lunged forward, quantum blade humming through the air, where Sarah's neck had been a moment before. She dodged with practiced ease, her movements broadcast in real time to an audience of trillions. "Is this Imperial justice?" she called out, her voice heavy with calculated disappointment. "Is this how the Empire treats those who follow its laws?" The chamber's quantum blast walls suddenly blazed with light as Imperial guards materialized, their energy weapons trained on the assassins. The would-be killers found themselves surrounded, their mission compromised, their actions exposed to the galaxy. Sarah had turned their attempt on her life into a demonstration of Imperial corruption. "I offer you mercy," she announced, her words echoing across the Empire's communication networks. "A very human trait, mercy, especially toward those who try to kill me." The assassins' phase-shift suits powered down, revealing beings of living crystal, Zenthari nobles, members of one of the Empire's oldest races. The Emperor himself appeared in a cascade of stellar energy, his form crackling with barely contained power. "You turned an assassination attempt into political theater," he observed, his 4 eyes studying her intently. "Most impressive." "I turned it into truth," Sarah corrected, standing tall despite her lingering neural burns. "The galaxy now sees what happens in the Empire's shadows. Perhaps it's time for light." Her neural broadcast caught every word, every gesture, transmitting them to species who had lived in fear of the Empire for millennia. "The trial of spirit approaches," the Emperor warned, his voice carrying both threat and intrigue. "Your clever politics will mean nothing in the labyrinth of truth. It strips away all pretense, all manipulation. You cannot broadcast your way through its challenges." Sarah met his gaze steadily, letting her audience see her unflinching determination. "We'll see. Humanity has survived its own labyrinths for thousands of years. We're rather good at finding our way through darkness." The implied challenge in her words was clear to every watching species. As the Emperor departed in a flash of quantum energy, Sarah finally allowed herself to shake, releasing the fear she'd suppressed throughout the confrontation. She had survived, but more importantly, she had shown the galaxy a different kind of strength, the kind that came not from weapons or technology, but from the courage to stand up and expose truth to light. The assassins were led away, but Sarah knew their arrest was just the beginning. She had exposed corruption at the highest levels of the Empire, and there would be consequences. But she had also gained something invaluable: the attention of every species that had ever questioned the Empire's absolute authority. As she prepared for the trial of spirit, Sarah reviewed the footage of the assassination attempt. Her neural implants had captured everything in perfect detail, and the broadcast had reached even the furthest corners of the Empire. She had turned a moment of vulnerability into a demonstration of human adaptability and strategic thinking. The labyrinth of truth awaited, but Sarah had already proven something crucial. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their strength, but their ability to turn any situation to their advantage. The Empire had tried to silence her in shadows, and she had responded with light. Now the galaxy watched, waiting to see what this audacious species would do next. The labyrinth of truth materialized around Sarah, its walls shifting like liquid mercury mixed with starlight. This was where even hive-mind species had shattered, their collective consciousness torn apart by the maze's ability to manifest their deepest fears and existential doubts. The air itself seemed alive with malevolent intelligence, probing her mind for weaknesses. "The trial of spirit begins," the Emperor's voice echoed through the impossible space. "The labyrinth will test not your mind, but your very essence. Many enter, none emerge unchanged." His presence faded, leaving Sarah alone with the ancient construct. Her first step triggered an immediate response. The walls rippled like disturbed water, forming hyper-realistic images of Earth reduced to ash by Imperial weapons. She watched cities burn, saw her family suffer, witnessed humanity enslaved. But Sarah had expected this basic fear manipulation, had prepared for it during her long hours of meditation. "You'll have to do better than that," she whispered to the maze. The construct responded by diving deeper, pulling forth her guilt, her doubts, her deepest fears of failure. It showed her alternate timelines where her challenge led to humanity's extinction, worlds where she became responsible for the death of her species. Yet instead of fighting these emotions, Sarah did something unprecedented. She accepted them. "Yes, I'm afraid," she admitted to the maze, her voice steady despite the horrors surrounding her. "Yes, I doubt myself. Yes, I feel guilt and uncertainty. That's what makes me human." The walls trembled, confused by her embrace of what should break her. The maze shifted strategies, creating phantom versions of itself that spoke with cruel logic. "Your species is young, primitive, violent," they whispered in voices that seemed to come from inside her own mind. "You destroy yourselves, poison your world, wage wars over imagined differences. You deserve containment. You need it." Sarah laughed, the sound echoing through the impossible geometry of the maze. "We're all those things," she agreed, touching a wall that tried to recoil from her contact. "And we're also brilliant, creative, and endlessly capable of change. That's what you don't understand about humanity. We contain multitudes. The labyrinth, designed to break spirits through pure logic and fear, encountered something it had never faced: human emotional intelligence. Sarah didn't try to beat the maze. She tried to understand it. With each step, she shared human experiences: love, hope, friendship, sacrifice. The walls rippled with increasing agitation as they absorbed concepts they were never designed to process. "You're lonely," she suddenly realized, feeling the maze's fundamental nature. "You've existed for 10,000 years, breaking spirits, never connecting." She pressed her hand against the wall again, but this time with compassion. "Let me show you something different." The maze shuddered as Sarah projected memories of human connection. Children laughing, friends supporting each other through hardship, strangers helping strangers during disasters. The walls began to pulse with new patterns, absorbing these alien concepts of empathy and emotional bonds. Impossible, the maze's consciousness resonated through the space. These patterns violate primary directives. Emotional connections create weakness. Individual strength comes through isolation. The walls flickered between mercury and opal, struggling to maintain their original purpose. "They violate logic," Sarah corrected, continuing to share memories of human resilience through unity. "But they're what make us human. We can hold contradictory ideas, feel opposing emotions, and still function, still grow. Our connections don't weaken us, they make us stronger." The labyrinth of truth, for the first time in its ancient existence, began to change. Its walls softened from mercury to opal, reflecting not fears but possibilities. The very structure of the maze transformed as it grappled with concepts it had never encountered in 10,000 years of breaking spirits. When Sarah emerged, the Emperor waited with all four eyes wide in astonishment. "You did not simply pass through the labyrinth," he said, his voice carrying both wonder and concern. "You changed it." Sarah smiled, tired but standing tall. "That's another human trait, Your Majesty. We don't just overcome challenges, we transform them into opportunities for growth." She gestured to the maze behind her, now pulsing with new colors and patterns. "Perhaps it's time for the Empire to learn the strength that comes from connection rather than isolation." The maze continued to pulse with its new awareness, forever altered by its encounter with human emotional intelligence. Sarah had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in resisting fear or pain, but in their capacity to grow through understanding and connection. The trial of spirit had become a lesson not just for her, but for the entire Empire. Sarah's successes had ignited something unprecedented in the Empire: hope. Species that had accepted their protectorate status for millennia began questioning their containment. The whispers of change spread through quantum networks and psychic links, growing stronger with each passing moment. The Emperor's response was swift and severe. A quantum warfleet materialized in Earth's solar system, its weapons capable of reducing planets to cosmic dust. A demonstration of what resistance means, the Emperor's message echoed across space, his words carried by tachyon broadcasts to every corner of the galaxy. "Observe the consequence of defiance." The warfleet's weapons powered up, a clear threat to humanity's homeworld. But Sarah had anticipated this move, had prepared a response that would shake the Empire to its foundations. "Observe," she broadcast to every world in the Empire, her neural transmitter linking with communication networks across the galaxy. Humanity isn't alone in desiring freedom. At her signal, 1,000 worlds erupted not in violence, but in synchronized peaceful protest. On the crystal plains of Zenthar, crystalline beings arranged themselves into massive symbols of solidarity, their bodies refracting starlight in patterns matching ancient human art. The living storms of the vortex worlds pulsed in sequences that spelled out messages of support in pure energy. Even the quantum-linked Nexus worlds displayed their allegiance through mathematical proofs, demonstrating the inevitability of change. "You see, Your Majesty." Sarah's voice carried across the Imperial frequencies, reaching every ship in the Warfleet. You've taught us all to fear change, to accept limitation, but humanity remembers something you've forgotten: the power of peaceful revolution. Her words were translated into 1,000 languages, each version carrying the same unmistakable message of defiance and hope. The Emperor's response materialized in her chamber, his form crackling with barely contained energy. The air itself seemed to bend around him, reality straining under the weight of his anger. You dare coordinate resistance across my empire. You infect my subjects with your chaos. Not resistance, Sarah corrected, standing firm despite the overwhelming pressure of his presence. Evolution. Look at your empire, stagnant, unchanging for 10,000 years. We offer something different: growth through cooperation. She gestured to the holographic displays showing protests across the galaxy. Each species adapts and grows in their own way, but together we become more than we could ever be alone. Across 1,000 worlds, protesters demonstrated humanity's greatest export: hope. Each species adapted human protest techniques to their own nature. The photonic beings of the luminal realm dimmed their stars in patterns of protest, creating vast messages visible from neighboring galaxies. The quantum-linked hive minds of the deep sectors processed in synchronized contemplation, their combined consciousness exploring new possibilities of existence. Your warfleet can destroy Earth, Sarah acknowledged, her voice steady. But you can't destroy an idea. And humanity's greatest idea is simple: we can all be more than what we are now. The holographic displays showed more species joining the protest with each passing moment, their unique forms of expression creating a galaxy-wide symphony of peaceful resistance. The Emperor watched as his perfect, orderly empire transformed into a cascade of peaceful chaos. Species that had never communicated began sharing ideas across quantum channels. Ancient enemies found common cause in their desire for growth and change. The rigid hierarchies of 10,000 years began to dissolve in the face of something more powerful than fear: hope. You've infected my empire with human unpredictability, he accused, his 4 eyes blazing with otherworldly light. You introduce chaos into perfect order. Sarah smiled, knowing her expression would be seen by trillions across the galaxy. No, Your Majesty, we've reminded them of something they'd forgotten: that diversity brings strength, that change brings growth, that cooperation achieves more than control. She pointed to the displays showing peaceful demonstrations spreading to even more worlds. This is what humanity offers the galaxy: not conquest, not submission, but partnership. The warfleet above Earth remained, but now its presence served only to highlight the Empire's fear of change. Sarah had shown the galaxy a different kind of power, not the ability to destroy, but the courage to imagine something better. The protests continued to spread, each species adding their own voice to the growing chorus of change. The final trial approaches, the Emperor warned, his form beginning to fade. Do not think this display of unity will save you from the ultimate test. It already has, Sarah replied, her voice carrying conviction. Because win or lose, the Empire will never be the same. We've shown every species that there's another way forward, together. As the Emperor vanished, Sarah prepared herself for the final challenge, knowing that she now carried the hopes of not just humanity, but of an entire galaxy ready for change. The Chamber of Ultimate Truth manifested around Sarah like a dream taking solid form. Reality itself seemed fluid here, responding to thoughts and beliefs as much as physical laws. This was where the final trial would take place. Not a battle of strength or wit, but a confrontation of fundamental philosophies. The Emperor appeared before her, but different from his usual form. Here, in this realm of pure truth, he appeared as living starlight shaped into vaguely humanoid form, his 4 eyes now windows into the cosmos itself. Welcome, Commander Chen, to where all pretense falls away. Here, thoughts become reality. Beliefs shape existence itself. Sarah felt the chamber responding to her presence, creating ripples in the fabric of reality. Her human consciousness, used to defining strict boundaries between thought and matter, struggled to adapt to this fluid environment. "The final trial," she said, her words creating patterns in the air. "Where we discover whose philosophy is stronger. Where we discover whose reality is true," the Emperor corrected. The space around him warped to demonstrate 10,000 years of imperial order, worlds operating in perfect harmony, species accepting their assigned roles, a galaxy functioning like a perfectly tuned machine. This is stability. This is peace. But Sarah had come prepared. She projected her own vision. Earth's history of constant change and growth, of falling and rising, of learning from mistakes. "This is life," she countered. "Messy, unpredictable, but always growing, always adapting." The chamber filled with holographic scenes of human achievement born from chaos, art emerging from suffering, scientific breakthroughs sparked by accidents, cooperation arising from conflict. The Emperor's response was immediate and overwhelming. Reality bent around them to show worlds torn apart by war, species extinction through technological recklessness, the collapse of civilizations through unchecked growth. This is why control is necessary. This is why order must prevail. But Sarah stood her ground, accepting these images while transforming them. "Yes, we make mistakes," she acknowledged. "Horrible, devastating mistakes. But look what comes after." The scenes shifted to show reconstruction, renewal, lessons learned and passed down through generations. We don't just survive our failures. We grow from them. The chamber became a battlefield of ideas, each thought manifesting as reality around them. The Emperor wielded 10,000 years of absolute certainty, each concept a law as immutable as gravity. Sarah countered with humanity's greatest weapon, the ability to imagine something better than what existed before. "Your species can barely maintain peace on their own world," the Emperor challenged, manifesting scenes of Earth's conflicts. "Yet you claim the right to influence galactic civilization." "Our struggles teach us empathy," Sarah responded. She showed moments of human compassion. Enemies helping each other after natural disasters. Former war zones transformed into peace parks, scientific cooperation across political divides. "We understand the price of conflict because we've paid it so many times. We understand the value of peace because we've had to fight for it." The chamber's reality fluctuated wildly as their philosophies clashed. The Emperor's perfect order battled against human adaptability. His eternal stability faced off against humanity's constant evolution. Around them, the very concept of existence seemed to waver between these competing visions. "And what of responsibility?" the Emperor demanded. "The galaxy requires structure, hierarchy, control." His power made the chamber shudder, reality trying to lock into his ordained patterns. Sarah responded by showing something unexpected. Human children learning, failing, and growing. "We understand responsibility precisely because we've seen the consequences of its absence. But true responsibility isn't about control. It's about guidance, about helping others find their own way." The chamber resonated with the truth in her words, its reality beginning to shift away from rigid patterns towards something more organic, more alive. The Emperor's perfect order began to seem less like harmony and more like stagnation. "Your philosophy would destroy everything we've built," the Emperor argued, but there was uncertainty in his cosmic eyes now. "Chaos would spread across the galaxy." "Not chaos," Sarah corrected gently. "Growth, change, life." Around them, reality shifted to show her vision of the future. A galaxy where different species collaborated while maintaining their uniqueness, where order emerged naturally from cooperation rather than being imposed from above. The chamber of ultimate truth pulsed with the power of their competing philosophies, but gradually, inexorably, it began to align with Sarah's vision. Not because it was stronger, but because it was more alive, more adaptable, more true to the nature of existence itself. The Emperor stood silent, his form of living starlight dimming slightly as he absorbed the implications of what had happened. "You've done more than win a trial," he said finally. "You've shown us a mirror of what we've become, and what we could be instead." Sarah nodded, feeling the chamber's reality solidifying around her vision of a living, growing galaxy. "That's humanity's gift to the Empire," she said. "Not obedience, not chaos, but the courage to change." The great hall of the Imperial Palace shimmered with quantum energy as representatives from every species in the galaxy gathered for an unprecedented event. The Empire, unchanged for 10,000 years, was about to transform. Sarah stood beside the Emperor on the crystalline dais, both of them facing the assembled multitude that stretched into dimensional folds of space. "The trials are complete." The Emperor's voice resonated through multiple dimensions. "Humanity has proven themselves not just worthy of freedom, but capable of showing us a new path forward." His form of living starlight seemed different now, less rigid, more dynamic, as if Sarah's victory had changed him at a fundamental level. Sarah stepped forward, her neural implants broadcasting her words to every corner of the Empire. "We don't come to destroy the old order," she declared, "but to help it evolve. Humanity offers not revolution, but transformation." The holographic displays around them showed scenes from Earth's history, civilizations rising, falling, and adapting, growing stronger through change rather than stagnation. The Emperor gestured, and the ancient laws of the Empire appeared in cascading holograms. "For 10,000 years, we have ruled through control and classification. We thought order could only come through rigid hierarchy." He paused, his 4 eyes scanning the assembled species. "Commander Chen and humanity have shown us a different way." Reality itself seemed to shift as new laws began to form, merging human adaptability with imperial stability. The quantum computers that had maintained the Empire's rigid structure now reprogrammed themselves to accommodate growth and change. Sarah watched as 10,000 years of absolute order transformed into something new, a living, breathing system capable of evolution. "Each species," Sarah explained, "will have the freedom to develop according to their own nature. The Empire will guide rather than control, support rather than suppress." Around them, the crystal walls of the palace began to pulse with new patterns, reflecting the changing nature of imperial power. The Zenthari crystalline beings chimed their approval, their usually rigid structures showing new organic patterns. The Nexal swarm clusters pulsed with colors never before seen in their strictly regimented society. Even the quantum-linked nexus minds showed signs of individual variation within their collective consciousness. "But freedom brings responsibility," the Emperor added, his form shifting to incorporate more dynamic patterns. "The new Empire will require cooperation, understanding, and mutual support." He gestured to Sarah. "Humanity will help guide this transition, sharing their experience with both the challenges and benefits of freedom." Sarah activated the quantum beacon she had brought from Earth, its signal connecting with the Imperial network. "This beacon represents humanity's commitment to the new Empire," she announced. "Through it, we'll share our knowledge, our creativity, and yes, even our mistakes, so all species can learn and grow together." The assembled representatives watched in awe as the beacon's signal created new neural pathways in the Imperial network, transforming the rigid hierarchy into an interconnected web of communication and cooperation. Species that had been isolated for millennia found themselves able to share ideas freely, their unique perspectives contributing to a greater whole. "The age of the protected has ended," the Emperor declared. "Now begins the age of partners." His form expanded, starlight reaching out to touch every species present. "We will learn from humanity's greatest strength, the ability to change without losing oneself, to grow without destroying what came before." Sarah felt the weight of the moment, knowing that this transformation would affect countless worlds and civilizations. "There will be challenges," she admitted. "Change is never easy. But together, we can face any obstacle." The holographic displays showed the peaceful protests that had swept the galaxy, now transforming into celebrations of new possibilities. The quantum computers completed their reprogramming, and a new kind of order emerged, one based on cooperation rather than control, diversity rather than uniformity. The Empire had not fallen, it had evolved, becoming something greater than the sum of its parts. The final trial, the Emperor said softly, was not just for humanity, but for all of us. You taught us that true strength lies not in resisting change, but in embracing it. His form had fully transformed now, incorporating patterns of growth and adaptation while maintaining its fundamental nature. Sarah looked out at the assembled species, seeing hope and possibility where once there had been only resignation and fear. "This is humanity's gift to the galaxy," she said. "Not our technology, not our strength, but our understanding that the universe is too vast and wonderful to be bound by anyone's rules, even our own." The great hall erupted in celebrations that transcended physical form, as each species expressed joy in their unique way. The new empire was born, not through revolution or conquest, but through the simple, powerful truth that change and growth were not enemies of order, but its natural evolution. In the quantum glass walls, Sarah caught her reflection standing beside the Emperor, one human who had dared to challenge authority, and in doing so, had helped free an entire galaxy to become something greater than it had ever been before.